What's up, YouTube? Darklord Diabolos coming at you. Today we are going over my deck profile of Dark Despia. It's a combination of two themes / archetypes. Dark Lords, which are dark fairies that are representations of Judaism, fallen angels, and demons, / Mayan gods. Oh, and Lucifer's in there as well. The other being Despia, that have dark fairy main deck Pringles and fiend fusion monsters. And of course, since I am the king of gimmicks, I have Arcana 41 Zawaldo here. Now, for some reason, my highest viewed Yu-Gi-Oh video is my Weather Payer deck profile. I hope this video can at least get half of that, because mostly I'm hoping for a gate for Darklord sometime soon. My Konami is probably going to release it a year later from now. Who knows? So, we're going to go straight into the archetype by going over the Darklord portion of this deck. First, we're going over my 3-ofs. I run 3 of Darklord HL / Ixtab, formerly the goddess of self-deletion and debauchery, now the goddess of jaguars. Funny censorship with that one. Her effects are simple. You can discard her and one other Darklord card, note not monster, to draw 2 cards. This ability is very useful in gathering your combo pieces. Her on-field effect is you pay 1,000 life points to copy the ability of a Darklord spell or trap in your grave. Note, copy. Most Darklord spells and traps, at least the trap cards, have a cost where you discard, send a Darklord monster from your hand or field to the graveyard to get their effects. But if you copy with her ability, you don't have to pay that cost, since you're already paying the cost with your 1,000 life points. I'm running 2 Indulge, because running her at 2 is pretty safe. I know a lot of people run her at 3. When she's normal summoned or special summoned, you take 2 Darklord monsters from your deck, add 1 to your hand, and summon the other one to your opponent's field in defense position. It's a really good searcher, and somehow you can never have enough searchers in a deck, because this deck has a lot of searching going on, and she's still viable, because giving your opponent stuff is not really a good idea. But it's fine, because one of your targets is going to be a one-off called Darklord, the Capacious Darklord. I cannot pronounce these names worth of shit. Her effect is, the only one that needs to matter, is when she's sent to the graveyard, all your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack and defense for each fairy monster on the field. She also has a on-field effect if you can use if you want to, where during the main phase you can tribute summon a fairy monster in addition to your normal summoner set. That normally does not come up whatsoever. The other 2 off of the Darklords we're running is Suburbia. This is a really good card in general. When this card's summoned from the graveyard, which that's the main gimmick of the deck, is summoning stuff from the graveyard, you can summon another fairy type, note not exclusive to just Darklords, from the graveyard except itself. Which normally you summon him or another Darklord on your convenience. And finally, for our main deck, our one-offs we run is Darklord Morningstar. His effect doesn't really matter. But if it's tribute summon, you can special summon Darklord monsters from your head or deck equal to the number of effect monsters your opponent controls. So if you're dealing with a high enough board that has no negates, which is unlikely if you're dealing with a board, you can swarm the field. The reason why he's not that good is mostly because he cannot be special summoned. There's like 2 other Darklords that cannot be special summoned, and they're usually never played. The only reason why this guy is actually played... Oh, and once per turn you can send cards from your deck to the graveyard equal to the number of Darklords on the field and gain 500 life points. But there's a reason why we play one of them, and we'll get to that when we get to the extra deck. But first I want to go over the spells and traps. Oh, and the other one off. Unabak. When you normal or special summon him, you can send a Darklord card from your deck to your graveyard, usually setting up targets for Suburbia or HL. Now we'll go over the spells and traps. Even with a script I screw up. First is Banishment of the Darklords. It's simple. You run 3 of them because you can search a Darklord card. It's a really good once per turn search. The other 3 of is Darklord Contact, which allows you to special summon a Darklord from your graveyard in defense position. And again, these can be used with each Chell's effect, so you can activate them twice per turn if you have a Chell on field. And the other Dark Lord cards I'm running is 1 Enchantment, 1 Sanctified, and 1 Rebellion. Mostly so you can activate them on your opponent's turn while they're in the graveyard using a Chell's effect. 1, you can destroy a card on the field. 1 allows you to take control of an opponent's monster until the end phase. And 1 allows you to negate an effect monster on the field, and you gain life points equal to their attack. Moving on to the extra deck of... I want to go over the entirety of the archetype / themes. So that's why we're bouncing around. For the extra deck for the Dark Lords, the main boss monster that you're going to summon, fusion summon, is this boy right here. First of the Dark Lords. It's essentially Lucifer upgraded. It requires 3 Dark Fairy monsters, and your opponent cannot target fairy monsters you control with effects. It is a 4,000 untargetable monster, which is really good, but it also has some utility. 1, if you use Dark Lord Morningstar for its fusion summon, you can nuke the entire field. 2, during the main phase, even your opponent's main phase, quick effect, pay 1,000, summon a fairy monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position, which is really good at getting certain cards out. Note, you cannot use both effects in the same turn. The other Dark Lord card we have is Condemned Dark Lord. She has a complete and total storyline that I would, it's not really worth making a video on. I probably will make it into a video, who knows. But she is the girl from the Forbidden Spell cards. She gets cursed by Solemn Johnson, gets turned into the Condemned Maiden, then the Condemned Witch. She gets her revenge on Solemn Johnson, and now she's the Condemned Dark Lord, who is now doing horrible experiments to Nastin with some kind of liquid that she created. Who knows what that liquid is? But she's good in this deck because A, she only requires 2 fairy monsters. When you're trying to tribute summon a fairy monster that requires 2 tributes, you can banish 2 monsters from your graveyard instead, which is really good resource management. What she's in here is basically for another search. You can discard a card, which you can put in your trap cards or spell cards that you cannot play this turn, into the graveyard to take a Dark Lord monster from your deck, either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard, which can set up more targets for Suburbia or just add targets to your hand. Also, if she was still on the field during the end of your turn, you gain 500 life points for each fairy monster. And since you're paying a lot of life points in this deck, that it can come in handy to prevent you from losing quickly. And that's it for the Dark Lord side of things. Now on to Despia. Despia is the current antagonist of the storyline that's been going on for more than you would think. So right now we have the head of the Despia, or what everyone suspects is the leader of Despia, Albert. And oh my god, behind that mask he is fucking handsome. The reason why I run 3 of him is because you can add a branded spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Right now, the real-life IRL players understand how powerful this effect is, considering branded fusion is a thing now. And if a fusion monster leaves your field due to any circumstance, you can summon this card from your graveyard and negate a monster effect, which is pretty decent. But again, you mainly want them for the search ability. The one-off of the Despia archetype I've run in the main deck is Despian Tragedy. If it's sent to the graveyard or banished by card effect, you can add a Despia monster from your deck to your hand. Dramaturgy of Despia, which, if used for a fusion material, you can summon it from the graveyard. And if a fusion Xyz or Link monster or Xyz monster is special summoned, you can target an effect monster and negate its effects. And I run 1 ad libitum, mostly because it searches if it leaves the field because of a fusion, or, you could target a level 8 or higher fusion monster, or that is banished, in your graveyard and summon it, or a level 8 or higher Despia. Mostly you're going to target either one of your fusions or Dramaturgy. And if he's on the field, you can make all monsters on the field gain 100 times their level and attack value, which can be really good if you're dealing with a problematic monster you don't want to deal with. Now the extra deck for the Despia, we run 1 copy of Quantris. I don't usually summon him at all, or her, or him. Well, it's a suit of armor, so you make your decision. But it has decent effects. You can change all the attack of all monsters currently on the field to 0, and this is a quick effect. except for those of level 8 or higher fusion monsters. That always is the reason why I don't summon it. If it just did it automatically with no problems with everything, I wouldn't mind, but it's always level 8 or higher fusion. That always has that exception, and that's the problem. Oh, and if this is destroyed, you have the same, Albaz fusion fetch effect, except for Fallen of Albaz or Despia monsters. Next, you have my main go-to for fusion monsters for the Despia archetype, which is Masquerade the Blazing Dragon. It is really good, and people are probably not going to like this card because it's very oppressive. While this card is fusion summoned, while you control it, your opponent loses 600. He has to pay 600 life points to activate cards or effects. For combo decks, if they don't get rid of this right away, it's a death sentence. And if your opponent just happens to control any monster that isn't an effect monster, an extra monster, ritual monster, you can summon it from the graveyard. But banish it when it leaves the field, because of course that's always a catch. And onto the spells, I run 3 Despia Theater of the Branded, because it's basically your pummelization. That's how you get all your fusion monsters out. And then if a non-fairy fusion monster leaves the field, you can summon one again. Mostly you're summoning back the first darklord. And 1 copy of Branded Opening, which is very useful. You could discard a card, then take a Despia monster from your deck to your hand, and add that to your hand or special summon in defense, which allows you to special summon this, to search this, to go into this. I'm not going to go into time and bug you. Now, on to our one-offs, or our non-archetypal cards that hold everything together. 1 Max C, because you can, it's Max C, why not run 1? 2 Ash Blossoms to stop searches. 1 The Worldo, because you can skip a turn. I'm going to stop to discuss this card. It is the best Arcana Force monster, but that's kind of underplaying its ability. Because there is only 1 competition for the best Arcana Force monster, and that's, I think, the Fool. And I'm sorry, it wins that contest, because most Arcana Force monsters suck. I'm not going to explain why it sucks. If you really want to understand how bad it sucks, go watch Rada's Legacy of the Worthless on them. When this card is summoned, not normal summon, just summoned, so you can summon it off a Suburbia, Monster Reborn, or anything. Once per turn, you toss a coin. Heads, once per turn during your end thing, send 2 monsters you control to the graveyard, skip your opponent's turn. Tails, once per turn during your opponent's drop fight, add the top card of their graveyard to their hand. That may be debilitating, but you forget you can activate this in multiple turns. So if you summon him multiple times, eventually you're going to get heads, because I managed to summon him like 3 times in one duel, and eventually I got heads. I don't have that on recording, that was on Media Pro, but still. He is really good, and this deck facilitates him really well. He's a level 8 with 3100 attack, which is very unique for a level 8, because mostly they go to 3000 or less. So, like I said, he's a really good one-off in my opinion, just to have fun. But if you don't want to run him, you can run another Suburbia or another Indulge. We run 3 copies of Trade-In, because we're running quite a few level 8, so sending level 8s to the graveyard to draw 2 is good. 1 copy of Lightning Storm, because Lightning Storm is a good go second card. You can destroy all attack position monsters your opponent controls, or destroy all their spells they control. 2 Called by the Grave, because Called by the Grave is the best card in the game, spell card wise. Don't at me, that is just facts. And 1 Solemn Judgment, because why not merge all this lore together with just 1 representative. For my extra deck that is not archetypal support, I run the Galaxy Eyes package, which includes Cypher Dragon, which can go into Blade, a 4 armor, then Blade to pop cards. 1 number 38, just in case. 1 Divine Arsenal Zeus, because Zeus is just good. 1 Boral Sword Dragon. 2 Herald of the Mirage Light, because this card is a really good negate and easy to get out. Just 2 monsters with the same type and attribute. And you can discard a fairy to negate a spell or trap card your opponent controls. What will they activate? That's other effect you cannot get to work because we're not running ritual monsters. I did not have that in my notes, and I had to look at it for a quick second, so probably try to cut that out, future me. And 1 Ereshkigal, Goddess of the Underworld, for good luck. And that's it for the video. If you're looking for more choppy, great content like this, I have a backlog of both Fate content, Yu-Gi-Oh content, and some anime stuff. So if you want to legit give that a try, also appreciate it if you hit that like button down below and share this video as much as possible so this video can grow exponentially. And I hope to catch you next time. Ciao.